how were you introduced to the Olympic family?
I used to see my husband playing polo since he was a polo player, so I was fascinated with that game. And later on it was that we met and we got married. He was posted in Martyr, that's a place in Jammu, and during Opera that was the time this incident took place. He was just standing and there was a shelling which started from Pakistan border. He was hit on his forehead, but he survived. That bullet, he could take it. It was just a bruise mark, but in the evening, we lost him. He was taken to Homage, Jammu, but I was with him that time in the evening when I came to know about this. But we were that time at Bipin.
How old were your children when this incident took place?
My son was in class 9, my daughter was in class 3. See, as a single person, if you say okay, the support which others can provide, it's not there and will never be there. That's a hardcore truth. But my organization was, yes, a big support to me. And I owe lots and lots to my organization. Rest of the support is there, you can say, but you have to be your own support. I take it back. I was my own support. They never accepted him, that he's gone. This was one thing which they never accepted. I had to make them realize that we can live with him by fulfilling his dreams. So it was like they would touch his uniform every day when they used to leave for the school. They would wait for him in the evening when other fathers used to come. But they said we will fulfill his dreams.
Ma'am, what was the factor so strong in your upbringing that both your children wanted to join the army?
I think they lost the uniform at a very, very tender age. And that love for the uniform was not abundant for them and they wanted to have more. So maybe that was one motivational factor. Second thing was when they saw their mother getting the support only from the organization and they would really support her to live. So I think that was also one mindset where the children wanted that we have to give ourselves back to the organization.
Another very unfortunate incident that you had to face was your son passing away even before he got commissioned. Ma'am, where were you then when you got to know?
He had not joined us yet. He had gone to Jalandhar to get his uniform stitched because he was to join IMA. I was at Rawat only. There he met his friends who few of them had already joined and few were to join. And he had gone to invite them all for lunch on next day, that was Sunday. On the way back, he met with an car accident and he came back home. I was at Rawat with that. If you say bond, I don't even have a word. Whether it was a double bonding or a triple bonding. He was a friend to her. He was a father to her. He was a brother to her. My daughter saw all the possible human being relations which could exist as a true bond in him, whether it was a friend or a father or a brother. Even sometimes he would treat her like, I would say, I don't have words what morning they shared. I do not know. It was a shock when she came to know, because when we reached the hospital, he was alive that day. She was a person who saw him first. She, being a doctor, was very upset, but then she thought that she has got few seconds, and if her degree could help, but it was not. We are human beings, instability is there. Our world was absolutely dark to an extent that we have also thought that let's end ourselves. But with the fear that if one is left behind, what will that person do? So we again started thinking, if that was a fate, let's face it. So it wasn't, we were unstable. There was no support. We both, mother and daughter, were only there in this world for each other. So we are still each other's support, still fighting for that.
After you lost your son, did your daughter think that she had to step up now as the man of the house and feel that responsibility coming on her shoulder?
Yes. That is what she thought, and I think after being a doctor, she wanted to go back and wear the uniform. She again took that serious exam, and she was like in a highly placed rank, got through it, which I myself don't know how she completed that OTA, Chennai training and all, because she was not that type of a tough and rough and tough girl. But if that thing was there, that she had to fulfill her father's dream and the brother's dream and to get back to uniform zone, I think she was strongly motivated for that.
When did your daughter decide to join the army?
The very next year. That is 2015.
What thoughts crossed your mind when you found out that she's planning to join?
I was pretty happy because in her, I see him. So she told me, Mama, the stars which have gone up in the sky, I get them back on my shoulders.
Okay, so my earliest memory of being a Fauji kid would be when my dad got his first posting in Pithoragarh. It was his first family posting, so we went there. I was quite young, I think 6 or 7, and I had a 2-year-old brother. And my first memory would be going to that brigade mess we had over there and just playing around in that huge mess with all the kids and forming those bonds at that young age with people you'll definitely end up meeting someone. So yeah, it happened in January 2017. It was the 25th of January, and it was a regular day for us. My dad had gotten posted to Sonmarg, which is in Jammu Kashmir. It's like a high altitude region. They have this Operation Rakshak and all going on over there. He had left Delhi 2 days prior only, and technically he was not even supposed to be there in Sonmarg on that day. But he was called up early by the commanding officer to come report, chat, and all that. And since he'd gone from Delhi and Sonmarg was a very cold place, he was not really acclimated with the climate and all. So he went there. We spoke to him on 24th night. Yeah, we spoke to him around 10. you could not get in touch very easily, the phones would not connect. So there were these specific times, I think, when the generator was turned on and the tower lines connected, and you could talk to him. So we spoke to him around 10 in the night, and we were like, okay, how's the weather? He's like, it's very cold and I don't like the cold and I just want to come back soon. So we were like, yeah, we're also missing you, because we had been living together for like 2-3 years. So it was the first time we'd been apart like this, and I'm not used to it anymore. Then we kept the phone, we went to sleep. Next day, I was on a holiday because it was 12th. Our year had ended, we were doing those assignments for our externals and everything. Friends were coming over, my group was coming over. And they came over around 11. And everything was fine, it was like a regular day. My brother had his exam. And then mom called me around 11:30, 12. Dad is not picking up his phone. I've called him like thrice since then. Like, mom, he just told you yesterday that it's very difficult to connect there, and maybe that's why. But she was like, no, it's ringing and he's not picking up, which is something that never used to happen, because it's like a very fond memory of my parents that wherever he was, even if he was in front of the chief maybe and mom called, he would pick up. There was no way he would not pick up. Just to maybe tell her that I'll call you later, but he would pick up. So mom is telling me that I'm having a really bad feeling. And so I was like, he'll pick up, don't worry. And we did not even have news by the time that there has been an avalanche or something. I think about half an hour later, she called me again and she said that some officer called and asked that, ma'am, is sir at home? Or are you at home? So mom was like, no, sir has been pushed to Sonmarg and I'm in the office. So that officer insisted that, ma'am, please go back home. So mom got even more disoriented. She was like, what is happening? But he was like, no, ma'am, I think you should go back home. Nobody was telling her anything. She called me and she was like, I'm very worried. And by that time, somebody had told her that there's been a lot of snowfall. Actually, Dad had only told us last night that there's a lot of snowfall and the gate is blocked from the outside. There's like 6 feet of snow or something. So we were getting worried, but I was like, it will be fine. It's okay. He'll call you back. Maybe he's busy somewhere. So, but she was like, I'm leaving the office and coming home. I told her, okay, cool. And while she was on her way to come home, on her way coming home, she got a call from the commanding officer there, who told her that there had been an avalanche in the morning and Dad was caught up in it. Or they did not really know where he was at that time, but they said that we don't have a location of him, we can't get through to him, which was really shocking for us, because it's like 2 days ago. I spoke to him last night, right? And so then by the time mom came home, she was like, we can't contact him, and she knew somewhere in her gut that something was wrong. But I insisted that nahi, aisa kuch nahi hoga, because this is the kind of thought that had never come into my mind. Even though Dad was in the army, I had never thought of losing him or something like this. And so by the time, I think it was 1:30 when we finally got the call that he's been found, but he's not breathing. And he was found under a lot of snow, and there was an avalanche which took away his whole bumper. And because he had just gone there 2 days before or whatever it was, he was not acclimated with the climate. So he's not breathing, even though he was in a sleeping bag, and basically his body is cold, and we are trying to help him. That is what we got to know. Mom called everybody. Dad's parents were in Delhi. Mom called her parents, they stay in Kanpur, and she came home, she was crying, she had told me this already. I was not ready to accept it. I was like, it'll be fine, doctors will do something, but due to that heavy snowfall and all that year, it was like really heavy snowfall and everything, they could not fly in, doctors. And but by the time they had called us to tell us that they had found him, he was gone. Because we later found out that the avalanche struck at around 4:35 in the morning, and he was already gone by 7. We didn't even know till 1 or 2 in the afternoon, because we could not find him, but the autopsy and everything revealed that he was gone by 7 in the morning. So the final call came to us around 2:33 in the afternoon. I remember my grandparents, my Dadaji, Dadiji, my dad's younger brother, my chachu were here. My brother had just gotten back from school, he had given an exam, and I told him that this has happened, and I could not just straight away tell him that I could not believe it myself. So everybody came home, everybody was sitting here, we were still holding on to the hope. Maybe, something may happen, because this was not something we had ever imagined. And then, but they gave us a final thing around 4:35 that we tried everything we could, but because of the heavy snowfall and the storm and everything, we could not find any other doctors from Srinagar, which is the closest base there. And so the commanding officer told us that he's very sorry for the loss, and so our world kind of shifted in those few hours. The most difficult part about school that time was 12th boards were going on, obviously, and even though this happened, they would not, give me any special treatment. Okay, you can give your exams later on. So I remember we had the funeral on 29th, and on the 30th we had an external for which I had to appear, because even though the school was very supportive, touchwood, my teachers were very supportive, and they were like, it's okay if you do not want to give your internal, but I did not want to really put it off for later, because at that time I was just functioning. So the funeral was on 29th, I gave my exam on 30th, and then the exams just kept coming and coming. So it was difficult at that point to process everything, because you have those exams coming in, you have this thing happening in your life. So yeah, that was difficult. Yeah, I can say so. Not at that time particularly, but I'd always been closer with my father, or so I felt. My dad was like very close to me. We were like best of friends, sharing everything, laughing at everything. I was very close with my dad. So suddenly not having him around was like a shock to me. And after that, yeah, obviously 3 of us have gotten very close, because we know that it's only us we have to hold on in the end. I think the loneliness. He was a very, very lively person who would just walk into the house and light up the whole house, and we would all sit together, and there used to be that moment every day he would talk to us, everybody. So that feeling of loneliness for me per se, and for everybody obviously. And secondly, that loss of family was there, because we were like a tight-knit group until then. We did not really need anybody else, but then after that it sort of became very I don't know, it was like hanging on by threads or something like that. That was one of the major changes. And then apart from that, yeah, it was very lonely without him. Where I do feel that, sometimes there are a lot of things which I did not realize before. I can't really pinpoint them, but somehow I feel that okay, it's sort of a responsibility to take care of mom and my brother at this point now, which earlier I did not really pay that much attention to, because I knew dad was there, he'll be there. So having him around as a constant support system for me especially has been like very, very difficult, because like I started off college that year only, and I did not enjoy college. I am not even my mental state was like really affected because of all that. And even to this day, it has been 2 years now, and some days I feel so overwhelmed that I can't even go for a class, or I don't want to sit in the class, and sometimes it just gets very overwhelming. So yeah, it has affected my life overall in every way.
Every time a soldier is martyred in the line of combat, a mother loses her son, a wife loses her husband, a daughter loses her father, and a sister loses her brother. When a soldier is martyred, the sacrifice is not his alone, but his family's as well. They gave up their today for you to have a safe tomorrow. The most painful sacrifices a military family makes is a separation from a loved one during wartime deployment. The spouse suddenly becomes a single parent, often without nearby family for support. Children don't understand combat, only that the parent won't be home for holidays or birthdays. Many families don't even know where their loved ones are or when they'll be back. Military families are pillars of strength behind the serving members. The impact of war is not only limited to the battlefield. The families of soldiers also make great sacrifices when one of their members is engaged in combat. It is a conflict of emotions. The true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. The feeling of love is what gives him the strength. It is the feeling of love which makes him sacrifice his life. And even though every year thousands of brave hearts are martyred in the line of combat, the bold and strong-willed families of our soldiers will continue to be the strength of the Indian Armed Forces.
सब कुछ तू ही जान मेरी, तेरे हाथों की लकीरों में तकदीर मेरी, तू जो हारे है हार मेरी, उठे सर भी मेरा जो हो जीत तेरी, तू न चलेगा अकेला कभी की संग चलेगी मेरी दुआ, तू न थकेगा कभी की ताकत तुझ में लाखों की